computer. All right. So this lesson is dividing polynomials by a binomial. It kind of sounds a little scary. Because to be fair, last lesson, you've already done one of these. When we were at the very beginning, and I toyed with giving you a warm-up on this, but we did by a monomial in lesson 4, right? If I gave you a problem that was like 3x squared minus 6x minus 4, and I said divide it by 2x. We learned how to do this. We just learned that we distribute. And we divide by whatever we distribute, we get our final answers. We can have, in this case, this has a negative answer. A negative exponent for one of the answers. Today, instead of having a monomial here, mine is going to have a binomial. It might be the same x squared plus 6x plus 8 all over x plus 2. All right. So the only difference is this has an x plus 2, so 2 separate terms that have to divide out at the same time. So we'll take a look at what that does today to our lesson. That's the entire goal of the unit, is that I can solve problems that look like this. I can factor, okay? I can solve and I can simplify this polynomial by factor. And then simplify it by binomial. So here's the first part of those. This is the very beginning of your notes. There's only 3 steps to it, okay? The first step, here's my example problem, and I want you guys to do this one with me, is factor the numerator. The reason I picked this one, because it has all 4 types of factoring in the lesson. It's got factoring by GCF, it's got factoring by difference of a square, factoring when the leading coefficient is 1, and factoring when the leading coefficient is greater than 1. So all 4 types we talked about earlier today, all 4 of these are in this lesson and they're all mixed up. So one of the things we're going to make sure we are really good at by the end of class today, all the trucks running around here, not trash, that kind of stuff. What with one smelling trash at the black and white galaxy? What is that? It's a ham art shop. Was it last night? Yeah. No, it was just tonight.
It's 2 days.
It was 2 days. So it's an annual art show.
Oh,
Arts, I should say. Arts. Now, thanks for the recording of that, by the way.
no, it's like there's a thing in high school like sports arts.
I know. But,
Oh,
all right. So, we got to factor this. Your job is part of what we have to learn how to do today. As soon as I finish this, you'll know how to do it. It's not bad at all. The key is, can you find and use the right way to factor to get the answer? Okay? Which is what I made you do on your quiz. But I was really nice on the quiz because I told you what type it was. All right, so if I factor this one, let's use that chart we wrote a few minutes ago. Is it a binomial or a trinomial, the first one I have on your paper? The example, it's a trinomial. So either can be factored with GCF or is a quadratic trinomial. Does it have a GCF? No. It does, but it doesn't. It has one, it's 1. Doesn't 1 go into all 3 of those numbers? But does 1 do me any good?
No.
So I don't have to worry about it. Everything has a GCF of 1. We just don't consider 1 a number that we worry about GCF for. If all their GCF is 1, it's prime. It's simplified. It's as simple as it can get. This is not as simple as it can get. It can be factored more. So, does it have a number in front of the y, the x squared term?
1.
It does. And that 1 says that I'm going to factor it the same way. What can I multiply to get to 8 that adds up to get to 7? The only things I can multiply to get to 8 is 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. How can I put those 2 together to get 7?
-1
and 1.
So either somehow 8 and 1, and I have to subtract, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up a problem. X8, X1. Which one is negative? Which one's positive? Now to get a positive 7. You're right, Joel. 1 is negative. 8 is positive. So that's my new formula. These two are equal to each other because if I factor it, it's just taking it back a step. What can I do? We'll read what step 2 say. Cancel out the common factor. Which one does both the denominator and the numerator have?
Thanks.
So there's the answer. What is, so let me take it even, let's go simpler for a second. What's 4 over 4?
1.
1. X plus 1 over x plus 1. What is it? It's the same answer. 1. Any number over itself. It doesn't matter how big it is. Doesn't matter how many terms it has. Doesn't matter if it's binomial, trinomial. If it's the same number over top of each other. What did this right one? I don't know. 17? 16? I'm trying to think how many kids are in our advisement. I have to actually check. It lets me see my answer. It lets me go, hey, I can cancel those numbers out. They make 1. What's 1 times x plus 8? 8. Same thing, x plus 8. Done. That's the answer. If I can cancel them, it's the same thing as saying they turn into 1, because 1 is the identity number for multiplication. It's the one that if I multiply what you got by 1, you're so happy. Wait, no, never mind. You didn't get it. You didn't get any money. I took everything you had and gave you 1 times as much as you had. You got nothing. You got the same amount already. So that's the answer. This is your answer. This is it. The answer is x plus 8. And that's the same thing we're going to do on these. Now, here's the thing. They don't all factor the same way. In lessons 1, 7, 8, 9, 6, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I've given you one way to factor each lesson. Right? The first lesson was only GCF. Second lesson was difference of a square. Third lesson was quadratic trinomial with leading coefficient of 1. Fourth lesson was slip and slide. Leading coefficient greater than 1. So if I've got that, now all 4 types are in one lesson. You've got to be able to look and see what kind is it. That chart I showed you a second ago and that talk about that we did here at the beginning of the quiz, that helps us figure it out. Binomials can be done with GCF or difference of a square. Trinomials can be done with GCF or difference of a square, or both. It's very possible they can be done together. Okay? You can do the GCF of a binomial and get a difference of a square like we saw in the quiz. It's possible you'll see the same thing here. Okay? So keep in mind, all of those come into play. So I'll do a couple here, then I have you try them, and then we're going to talk mainly, I'm going to see how well you guys can figure out how to factor, and then actually factor. All right, so looking at number 1. It's a trinomial, so it's either GCF or quadratic. The ones that multiply to get the last number and add up to get the middle. So since there's a 1 up there, we know it's not GCF. There has to be a number in front of X for there to possibly be a GCF. So we know it's gonna, what 2 numbers multiply to get 21, but add up to get 10. Well, 7 and 3 are really that and 3, 21 and 1 are the only 2 possibilities. So how do I get a positive 21 yet a negative 10?
Negative 7.
7's negative, and so is this 3. Because a negative times a negative makes that positive, but when I add them up, they stay negative. Okay? Which one's gone? X minus 3 is my answer. That's it. Let's take a look at number 3. Is number 3 a trinomial or a binomial?
Binomial.
Binomial. Again, it doesn't have a number in front of X or Y in this case, so it's not a GCF. It's kind of a nice way to knock it out. There's nothing in front, therefore it cannot have a GCF. Now it could have a variable, but there's no variable in the second term. So how are they connected? How are they alike? Are they difference of a square?
Perfect squares.
Both y squared and 25 are perfect squares.
What if they're not perfect squares?
Then you got prime. And maybe you can't factor. But since the lesson is all about dividing, they probably will be in this case. One moment, Elena. So y plus 5. And the y plus 5s then cancel. I get y minus 5. That's my final answer. That's all I have left. The 2 plus 5s go away. I'd like you guys to try 2 and 4. See what you come up with. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video just so that they're not all watching. Turn it over to the other side.
I did.
All right, I'll check them in a second. So I'm recording. All right, so let me talk through the answers. I see a lot of you doing a really good job.
Oh,
All right, back to recording. Now, all right, most of you did really well on number 2. That's just like number 1. It's a trinomial and it doesn't have a leading coefficient greater than 1. So I'm going to factor it the same way I factored number 1. It's going to end up being m minus 9, m plus 5. When you cancel, what you're left with is m plus 5. The second one, here's where I'm seeing a lot of people go do something. How many terms is there? Then I can't factor it like I did number 2. If there's only 2 terms, the only ways you can factor binomials is with a GCF or a difference of a square. A lot of you, just turn around. A lot of you guys are trying to do it like it's a quadratic trinomial, and it's not. It's a quadratic binomial. I will give you that. It does have an x squared, but it doesn't have the 3rd term. And when it doesn't have perfect squares, that's the only way I can factor to get those 2 binomials. Okay? So I have to think, okay, they're not perfect, and it's a plus sign. Plus can't do difference of a square, it has to have a subtraction sign. So we're looking at must be GCF. What number goes into 2 and 16? 2. What goes into x squared and x? I mean, look, if I divide 2x squared by 2x, I get x plus 8. And they cancel. I had a lot of people trying to turn that into a binomial. Yes, I realize that does happen, but only when it's a difference of a square like number 3. You got to know your perfect squares, guys. And that's just simply knowing that 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, and 144 are made by the same 2 numbers together, multiplied together. So your answer is 2x. Yes, Jack, that is correct. Thank you. Now, let's take a second and talk about this next piece. Put your pencils down. The key to this problem is knowing how to factor each set of numbers. Knowing what to do is good, but we practice that a whole lot more. We have not practiced how to know when, and that's what I want to take a second to look at. So on this section and on the next 6 problems, on the next 6 problems, I want to talk to you guys. I want you guys to help me. We're going to stop and talk through why do we choose what we choose. Okay? All right. So taking a look at this one right here, number 5. I'm looking at how do I factor? Is it a binomial or a trinomial? Try. Okay, so when we get there, so far so good. It's either GCF or quadratic. There's 2, 5, and 12 have the same numbers that go into them. No. So we're talking, and in this case, since it's got a number up here, what is it? It's slip and slide or the diamond method. You can choose your methods. Because that's got a 2 there, not a 1. I've got to use slip and slide or diamond.
So it has to be a 1.
If it's a 1 there, I can use the other method I did on numbers 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And that part is part of slip and slide and diamond. Okay.
3 over here.
So number 3 is different than square. So number 6 up here. Trinomial, right? Wait, no. Binomial. Is 10 a perfect square?
yes.
No.
Someone's over here reading this? No. Yeah. No. So it's GCF only. What about that one? It's binomial again. 16 a perfect square? Is x squared a perfect square? That's in the name. Yeah. Is 1 a perfect square?
Yes.
Yeah. 1 is the one most kids forget. 1 times 1 is 1. What about this next one? What do you think?
Slip and slide.
Why, Sam?
Because it's got the, it's a trinomial, and quadratic, and it has the number before the y.
And there's no GCF. 7, it's 7. You can't take and divide 7 by 3. So he's right. Slip and slide or 9. Let's take a look at these next two, 9 and 10. They're on the next page. You can just look at them here and you can look at them in a second. How do I do 7? Now, it's a different form, right? Does it change what I'm doing? No, if it was me, I would just simply put the 3 underneath it. I pretend like that doesn't exist and slide it down. It's the same thing. Is that something, how do I solve that one? Someone other than Sam, let's pick on Ava. Ava, how would I do number 9? How would I factor that? I don't need slip and slide on that one.
Division.
Not division, just quadratic trinomial. It's just a basic trinomial. Okay, it's the basic. So we're gonna see the numbers that add up to B, multiply to C. Okay? How do we do 11? Bradford, how do I do 11?
For number 11, you would,
Binomial, right? So what are my two choices of binomial?
basic. Honestly, I'm not.
Difference of a square or GCF? Do they have anything in common you can just see right in front of your face? Are any of the letters the same?
Yeah.
Number 10. Wrong one. Number 10. X and Y, are they the same?
Yes.
Try that again. X and Y are the same.
Oh,
letter.
X squared, Y squared, X.
Well, even then, they're not the same letter. This is different. This is the underside. We're only worried about the top. Okay. Are they both perfect squares? So the difference of a square. Okay, so what I'm gonna ask you to do is do the odds. No, not the odds. Do the evens. Okay, please do the 3 even problems. I'm gonna come around and help you if you need it. Start working on the even. Do not ask for my help until you try it yourself. You better have work done and an answer, even if it's wrong, before you say, hey, Mr. Maloney, can you help me? All right, so we already talked this GCF. What is the GCF? It's 5. So I get 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 3. My entire answer is 5. Okay, that's it for that one. It works out great. Now, and this is something that Truss was having trouble with, so I'm sorry to pick on you, but he's like, what do I do? There's a minus 3 on the bottom. I can't factor. I treat everything separately. I only worry about the top, get it all factored, then I can put it together with the bottom, okay? So it doesn't matter that there's that x minus 3 on the bottom right now. You ignore it until you've got the factors, okay? So this one was slip and slide. I think the majority of the class was slip and slide, if I remember right. Not many people like diamond, is that right? So that makes y squared minus 7y minus 18. So I've got 2 negatives, that means I've got a positive and a negative. That's stuff we've talked about. Okay, if you don't like get a negative answer. Now, what multiplies to get to 9 and adds up to get 7?
+2 minus 1.
Plus 2, he's right, minus 9.
But there's
But does
no,
that work?
but there's no y minus 3 on the
Oh, so what is the answer?
right.
There's no way to simplify it further. You can't simplify it, that's the answer. Leave it alone. Y minus 3, there's no way to simplify that any further. That's as far as it goes. It's not prime, it's just done. Well, I mean, I guess you can say if it's not simplified, that was our definition of prime. A polynomial you can't simplify, it's prime. It doesn't work.
So I have to read.
What's there?
I have to put back.
Well, you're proving that you can do it, that it doesn't.
So you just leave it.
That's the answer. That's as simplified as it can get.
It's slip and slide, don't you have to put the numbers back?
Oh, you're right, Sam. Thank you for catching my mistake. Way to go, Sam. He's right. I didn't do the slip and slide right. Good
Wait,
catch.
Well, what about like?
I put everything in the box on my truck, but I didn't take it back out. All my clothing, I made a mistake. So let me go back and just erase all what I've got. Sam was 100% right.
You got it wrong.
I did it when we talked about it wrong. It isn't prime. Nice catch, Sam.
Hold on, Sam.
Wait, did you?
Well
do
done,
that?
Sam.
No, that was a
Good
job
job.
on my part. I forgot. Well, if you're entitled to forget how to do stuff, am I? Every once in a while. So now, you were right on the numbers, sir. It is y plus 2 and y minus 9. But when we slip and slide, we've got to take our stuff back out of the truck. We've got to take the numbers back out. So if I put the 3 at the end, I've got to take it and put it back at the front. So this one simplifies down to 3 and 1. This one doesn't. I'm going to come over here into 7 and say it becomes 3y plus 2 and then y minus 3. Now we have the pair we can cross out, and it's 3y plus 2. Okay, nicely caught. I screwed up, I wasn't paying attention. When we slip and slide, remember to bring that number back out. Okay, go ahead. All right, last one I asked you guys to do. Okay, and then I'm gonna have you guys do 11, 12, and 13 to get your homework. Okay. It's the difference of a square. And we talked about that. There's my final answer right there. Okay, so actually, no, I'll just make you do 12 and 13. Do 12 and 13, and I'll give you your homework. Okay. I'll pause the video just so that. You're on the right track, but would it be slip and slide? Doesn't 2, 4, and 70 have a common factor? Maybe. You sure? Is it even? Maybe, you're not sure? I'm pretty sure they're even. 2. So, try it from there. And quadratic trinomial. They're multiple step. I know, I'm mean like that. You're welcome. Once you get it, it's easy. Don't.
I can't like the title, I don't start having trouble on.
Well, this is still a trinomial. Well, that's the difference in square. You gotta recognize it.
Well, I know, I recognize it's the difference in square, but like,
Oh, so then these cancel. That's my answer.
oh.
'Cause they're both the
then you do it, yeah, under X, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, you start that way, and then you factor the trinomial that's resultant. The resulting trinomial. Factor it first, see what's in parentheses. Can you do anything more with the stuff that's in parentheses? The answer is yes. Restart. So that's right. So again, forget this is this. Okay. What can I multiply to get 35? Just start that. 1 and 35. Oh, 5 and 7. I can work that out here too, yeah. How we doing? I'm stuck. All right, so let me ask you a question. How do you factor? First thing we always check is for the GCF, right?
Yeah.
Is there GCF? Yeah, so do that first, then see what's left over. If something's left over that gives you this, then you cancel. It won't be, so you might have more too. That's, okay, it's not a slip and slide. It's not that kind. It doesn't have-
How do you know it's not?
It's a trinomial. It's a fourth. It's a trinomial, right? So I have to check for GCF. Is there a number that goes with 2, 4, and 7? 1. 2, right? So divide everything by 2, and then see what's left. If what's left is a trinomial, factor.
Right, do the blank.
Yes. Nothing. If there's no letter, you don't worry about changing it. So why divide? So right. Okay. Yeah.
Minus.
Yeah.
Minus.
I'll give you that. I trust me.
Oh,
Trust
oh,
me.
you used to.
Trust me.
I thought that was 60,
Trust me.
30. Now, and that's not.
Then I, no, I passed it. I got a factor. Doesn't look like this
I
here.
got my answer on the fifth one.
Doesn't look like this. Trust. Doesn't look like that kind of problem.
This,
Then I need to factor that. What do you multiply to get 35 that adds up to get 2?
Okay.
You got it?
I got here. That's perfect.
Okay. Well, doesn't that look like something I know how to factor? Doesn't it look like the x squared plus bx plus c.
Yeah.
So can I factor it that way?
Yeah,
And by maybe the answer,
yes.
the answer is yes. What multiplies to get 35 and adds up to 2? What multiplies to 35? Start there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, there they are.
Wait.
multiply 2 and negative 70.
Well, you divide it. You don't have to slip and slide in this case.
Sure.
Do you have to slip and slide here? No.
Wait, when
There's
you
two.
slip it, when
You slip and slide when you can't. Remember, we always check GCF first.
Yeah,
So just 2, 4, and 7, you have a number in common?
no. Yes,
They're even, man. What number do they have in common?
no. 2.
Someone's been typing.
Now work from there.
Calculators.
That's not 2 and 7, it's 5 and 7. 2 and 7 is 4.
Calculators.
Oh,
Does that open it up and
35 times
Do
2
that if you want
is
to.
7.
But I would need, you just slide it back in. There's no slide in. There's no reason to slide it in. You didn't slide anything over. And that.
Wait,
Well, and yes, this way. it's-
which one?
Down. So like,
You should.
yeah. Nice, dude. Override. So I put a B instead.
Wait, I can.
It's not a B.
You got. Slowly. Two. Raise trust.
There is, we don't have any other test. No, I took, there was, it's right here. I took it off. That's why there's so much extra space. What can multiply you one? One and one, right? One and one, add up to get 2. This is. Most of the type. All right, you. The only thing you need to keep. Usually. It is, it's not easy, man, but you've got the right story. You know the numbers, but you know the numbers. No, it's not, there's more to it. What kind of multiply to get 35? What kind of multiply to get 35? I'm waiting, I'm not going anywhere. It's next. You have to roll one. You can go online and look at it. You can go online and look at lesson notes. It's on the student notes. Thank you. But you go. Multiply to get 35.
2.
Sir.
No.
2 numbers.
7.
So think about your negative plus. Okay, now we're down to D plus 5. Now you got it all factored out. Bring it down.
You got it too much.
You can do it when you don't give up. No, you give up. When things are hard, you give up. So don't give up. You can do it. You get stuck at the same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
You still did it. No, you can't. So you gotta have to do it. Time. See, but you couldn't get out why.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean, Joel. Not Joel. Joel's next.
I have no
Joel's
idea.
next.
I-
It's slipping. You A with this. But it's slipping. But it's slipping slide. You're right. It could be 8, 9. That's 8, 9.
Oh.
With 89, 8, 9.
Yes.
That was a math fact. Your 5th grade teacher would be ashamed of you, JC. Second one was so much easier than the first one. Still stuck on the first one?
Yeah, I can't figure out. Like,
Okay.
I don't get what you mean by this.
It does have a GCF.
-8.
What goes into 2, 4, and 70? 2. Now it's a basic trinomial.
So you divide this by.
You divide it by 2, that's the GCF. Now we keep factoring. We're not done yet.
So 2 is GCF.
Yeah, but then we can still, GCF is just part of it. You can do GCF and trinomial. You can do more than one step.
We can ask.
Hey, what's 5 times what gives you 35? So wouldn't 5 and 7 somehow give me 2?
Gio, that's a 5, that's a.
And you know, -5.
Negative, positive 5, negative 7. I said this. Wouldn't the d plus 5 still cancel?
Yeah.
So it's 2, d plus 7, minus 7.
Yeah. You don't need that.
That one's stuck inside.
Just roll it. Just roll it.
The right piece. You can't take the 2 out. Yeah.
So, do I have it? Okay, I know, is that right too? Cause I don't
I
like,
have to show you.
okay. Dang.
I asked you to write 3 letters, 3 numbers, a number, a sign, and a number.
Okay,
How hard is that?
I don't know, but I can already determine that this is
me
2x
too.
minus 9.
Yeah, me too, but no. So we're. Yo. 30 million.
Oh, wait, read it?
Oh, can I go homework?
Well, you never finished your work.
No, I did, I did.
Sean's. That's not.
9.
So it's basic.
Now you don't like that girl.
I stayed calm when I saw it.
I noticed. I was waiting for a Thank you.
How are you?
Alright.
Today?
I did. That kind of, I don't have the energy for that.
On the energy for that anymore? You're too old.
I'm playing softball next year.
Just roll because it's a smart one.
I didn't know you played softball.
I used to.
Okay.
I stopped.
I was in the sport.
I don't know, I haven't been on, I'm on a phone yet.
Something fun. Bye. Go
See ya.
upstairs. Bye, Mia. Go upstairs.
I know, me and Phil got between
What?
high school training, high
High
school performance training.
Okay. Have fun.